Just be good.
Look, Garrison's outfits were cracking me up. It was so bad. He was like, I've never seen anybody that way. It was so funny.
You did air with Corey and make
Like
everyone else is in like ball shorts and tank tops.
yeah, we were supposed to put these on the night. And like when they said I was like, I'm practicing. Garrison went all out.
Yeah, it was just an interesting look. It was just like, some guys are wearing snapbacks and
Yeah.
there's like nice cheese.
It was good though. We kind of split with 2 groups. It was good. And then they went off into their own thing. But yeah, we didn't. We kind of just have a Mr. Hawkins was sometimes he was quiet. Yeah. Didn't say anything. The only time he said anything was, "You get a live or and he opened it and he was like, oh, I was like, great reaction, Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, absolutely.
He gave me a little like nod and I was like, okay, well.
And so, although we were walking, I was walking by with
Oh my gosh, it might be.
and I'm like, you look the part of the picture, like, sitting on the mountain. The basis, and I'm like, I don't know if you're actually a good picture, but you are really selling it right now.
Yeah, it was fun. Let's do it fun.
I bet you that can also.
Because there was sometimes they just seemed to be with us instead of be dancing together. And it was one. They wrote like a break. Wow, that one really, that one really messed it. Like, we just amped back up, and I was like, he's like, he looked at me. That doesn't matter.
It's not better than changes further down every time. Last time it was just like a look. Yeah. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. First thing we did, I wanted to go to like that kind of.
It was really.
I don't hate it. And we went to the beach and didn't even wear it. That's when you wear it.
Molly came to
Oh, man.
yeah, she does.
They
were like, I think they just said it was for real. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you meant from their side. No, he will never be allowed out of it. No.
However, you have to either not have a job or be really desperate.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not. Some places really well, but I'm shopping like
Yeah. What if they meet up? I was so glad they're doing a new activity. I'm like, that's actually so smart.
Oh, no.
They're marketing it now. Like, girls who are just this is I just know
Hey, Abby? Do you want to stay?
I just want to hold it for like 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, you make something work.
I'm so glad your team doesn't like
Come on. Are you playing a game, Foster?
Yeah.
What are you playing?
Yu-Gi.
He's a gamer boy.
I'm a gamer. Did you guys ever play the Sims games? Sims. You guys know Sims?
Yes.
I used to play Sims all the time. It's a throwback. It was a long time ago. I used to play it on PlayStation. So, and then Sims 2 was on PlayStation 2. So I can talk about that for a while, but I'm not going to. So. Come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Should I just use the natural break of the song? I didn't fade that out, but that worked. So once again, are we the only church playing Celebration today? By Cool and the Gang. Morning, everybody. May 7th. We're fresh off of a Lakers win last night, so just start with naming the good on that one, man. Won by what? 30?
30, babe.
Strong 30.
Lake show. Come on.
Serve Steph Curry right.
Ooh, whoa.
Wow.
Oh my God. All right.
This is heresy.
This always happens. Didn't we get it last week? Oh, Magic Johnson.
But you guys debated about Magic too?
I found out last week that she doesn't like Magic Johnson, and I don't like it.
Why don't you like
She
Magic?
doesn't like Steph Curry
I
either.
think that
Why don't
he-
these come out these Sunday mornings?
I think that
You
Magic,
do this so I can't like really get into it.
I think Magic Johnson, if he didn't have a life-threatening illness, no one would care about him.
Guys, I want to publicly apologize. My name's Jimmy Dalrymple. That's what my wife just said. All right. Like, just also, she doesn't know anything about 1990s basketball into the 80s, 90s basketball. I'm sorry for what she just said. All right, that's on me. Michael Jordan wasn't in Space Jam. No one would know his name.
Didn't expect my childhood basketball all-time favorite player.
That's right. Yeah, welcome.
Oh my God.
It's a strong hot take.
Can I name the bad? Can I name the bad?
Emily.
My wife's views on my favorite professional athletes. Do you hate Tiger Woods now?
No.
Just get that up there. Right?
If he didn't have an affair,
No one would know.
No one knows.
Should we just start a new segment, which is also like, hot takes? We'll do name the good, and then we'll do hot takes. Anybody else have a hot take they want to say? I was waiting for someone else to do a hot take. All right, welcome, May 7th. Here we are. I want to read something to you guys. It's 3 things, but it's been helpful for me. So, however you're walking into this space today, I hope that this is the kind of space that we're trying to create together. So, this is Brendan Manning. He's talking about himself here in this section. He says, "There have been times when I felt the presence of God was more real to me than the chair that I was sitting on. When the word ricocheted like broken back lightning in every corner of my soul. When a storm of desire carried me to places I'd never visited. And there have been other times when I identified with the words of Mae West that I used to be Snow White, but I drifted. When the word was as stale as old ice cream and as bland as tame sausage. When the fire in my belly flickered and died. When I mistook dried up enthusiasm for gray-haired wisdom. When I dismissed youthful idealism as mere naivete. Is that how I say that? When I preferred cheap slivers of glass to the pearl of great price." Later he says this: "God loves us as we really are, whether we like it or not. This love, which calls us into existence, calls us to come out of self-hatred and step into the truth. Come to me now," Jesus says. "Acknowledge and accept who I want to be for you, a savior of boundless compassion, infinite patience, unbearable forgiveness, and a love that keeps no score of wrongs. Quit projecting onto me your own feelings about yourself. At this moment, your life is a bruised reed, and I will not crush it, a smoldering wick, and I will not quench it. You are in a safe place." Later, he defines safe. "To feel safe is to stop living in my head and to sink down into my heart and feel liked and accepted. Not having to hide anymore and distract myself with books, television, movies, ice cream." I love how ice cream always comes up in his books. "Movies, ice cream, shallow conversation. Staying in the present moment, not escaping into the past or projecting into the future. Alert and attentive to the now. Feeling relaxed and not nervous or jittery. No need to impress or dazzle others or draw attention to myself. Unself-conscious. A new way of being with myself. A new way of being in the world. Calm, unafraid. No anxiety about what's going to happen next. Loved and valued. Just being together with others and myself as an end, as itself." That's beautiful. We say that a lot. We want to create a safe place and where we can sink down and know that we're liked and accepted and chosen as we are. And we can say that for each other. No need to dazzle or impress. Like 2 big things that psychologists talk about is we have this overwhelming capacity and desire and need to compare ourselves or compete with others. And we kind of fall into these 2 categories or maybe both. And it's like with Jesus and with this table, you don't have to do that. There's no comparing or competing here because we're loved as we are. So cheers. I'm going to play a song for us. If you want to follow along, feel free to. It's our boy, John Mark. I know just what you need. So if you want to look up the lyrics and follow along, I'm going to play it for us, and then we'll name the good.
It's from me, just what you need. know just what you feel now. Your heart's inside mine. I'm the one that leaves you. Just what you feel. 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 Just what you
Let me pray for us and we'll name the good. God, we are here, and whatever that means. For each of us in this room, it may feel different, may be different, but God, we are here and we're showing up with lots of beliefs, lots of faith, lots of conviction, or none of it, and lots of sin, lots of baggage, or we've had some victories this week. God, we are here, and that's enough. And I pray that that's enough. And as we talk about often, I pray that this is safe. We can look at each other and we can create safety for each other, that we can live in safety ourselves. That, as I read just a second ago, that we don't have to dazzle. There's no need to impress. There's no need to compete or compare. And I pray that we're just free. We're free. We can be free people in this room. We praise things in your name. Amen. All right, let's name the good, the true, the good, the true, the beautiful things you encountered this week. You've seen, you've tasted, you experienced. What is it?
You guys had a home run yesterday. And
Solid.
It was one of the most magical experiences in my life. I got a little excited about it. Yeah, it was just really exciting, and it was just such a good Saturday. And I tend to live in the past, and so I can always look back and feel like, what's the word that you always say? Make it like much more magical than it was in my mind. You say a word that I do, but I don't remember what it is. Romanticize. That's what it is.
All right.
Romanticize the
That's
past, where it's.
Yeah, I say that all the time.
But and it was funny because Judah's birthday was this week, and there was like all these memories popping on your phone, likes to remind you about all the things that happened in the past. And so all these memories come, and there's this one of us in Portland, and we got Judah a bike, and we're like in this beautiful park because Portland's covered in parks. And I was like, we have no parks here, and we don't ever ride bikes, and like we have no friends. And I'm just like going and like all of our friends, and I'm like all like. That was the most magical, and nobody was ever upset while we lived there. And, and just romanticizing it and thinking like, oh, all of that's gone. Like our lives look so different now. And then like yesterday being like, we had 2 baseball games. So we spent a good portion of our day at the baseball field. And so it's just really good to sit there and be like, this is good too. Like that was good and this is good. Like that being good doesn't mean that this is not good. And this being good doesn't mean that was not good. Like they're both good. And that's just a really good reminder for me because I like to look in the past and just feel like always wanting to go back. Rather than like realizing like it's very different now, but it's still really good. And so it was just a very sweet day for me.
That's cool. And cheers, home run.
Home run.
Solid.
Yeah, it was sick. We were down by 1 run going into the bottom of the inning. And we have a kid on first, and Judy just steps up, and we were 2 outs. And I was like, God, please don't let me strike.
Yeah.
Because he's competitive. He was like maybe tossed a bat or I don't know.
And we had the most strikeouts we've ever had in that game. Like
And, yeah,
we were
so-
we were struggling to
I
bat.
was like, man, like, if he gets out at first, I'm fine with that. Just don't like just nick it a little bit. You ain't gotta be crazy. He steps up there and I mean, just kills it, and it just keeps going and
To the
keeps going
fence.
and keeps going. It was wild, and he's running third. He's cool, like he's a cool kid. He's like he's rounding third because our third base coach sent him on, and he looks at me and points at me. Like, and it was like this moment of like. Mad that he's like arrogant, but also really proud that he had the like audacity.
This is point.
As he's like round. And, I'm like a scorekeeper. Keeps me like focused and not crazy. I about threw the board, like I about threw the book and like jumped up down. But yeah, it was cool. We ended up losing in extra innings, but we went to extra innings because
That's
they
cool.
did it, and it was sick. It was awesome. So,
That's cool.
it was a moment. It was a moment. Like big Chuck as he gets to the dugout, throws his helmet. Like all his little like first and second grade boys are like punching each other. It was wild. It was wild. But what a Saturday! What a Saturday! First and second grade baseball. Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
Anything else?
I went on my senior trip this past week.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. I forgot how close I am with my class, and I'm just very thankful for all of them. We got to hang out. We went to Orlando and did Universal for 2 days, and then we went to the beach. It was short. We were only there for 3 days. We had to travel the other 2, but it was just a lot of fun. Made a lot of memories. Makes it a lot harder that I'm graduating in 2 weeks, but I'm very thankful for those people.
That's cool. Universal, man. Let's all just go. Mosaic mission trip. The Universal. Yeah, we'll go to Disney World.
We can stop by like a nonprofit. Or at least like an hour. Yeah, at least an hour.
Take some pictures.
Clean up the beach.
We'll clean up the beach. Like, so,
Clean
yeah.
the beach while we hang out.
Go play pickup basketball in the rec center.
Trash.
Get back.
We'll trash the beach and then clean it up.
Clean it up.
Clean up our own stuff.
Mhm.
We saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 on Friday night with Kevin and Leah.
Y'all recovered?
I haven't recovered yet. And there's
Wait,
Wait, it's already out.
yeah, it was brutal, man.
Was it good?
It was really good.
I heard it's trash.
You heard it.
I tried literally 4 times.
And I was like, I think this is ruined my day.
Have you actually heard that, Foster?
It,
Kevin texted me the next morning and said, "Don't let your kids go see it."
Yeah, I was like, if you have a 7-year-old, do not take your child to this movie. It's a hard PG-13.
It is.
Like,
Yeah.
it is.
there's, I told Corey, I texted Corey, and I was like, there's multiple times where I thought to myself, I can't keep going. Like, I think I'm done.
Wow.
I mean, it
Strong.
Was, it was a good movie.
Strong
I
movie.
feel like it was a great movie, but it was a lot. It was just.
Best Marvel movie since Endgame, for sure.
That's not hard. A lot of
That's
them-
not hard. Oh man, it was good. It was just hard. So, but it was awesome. That's why. It's,
Rosie started clapping this past week, I guess, and it's
And
just
playing football.
and playing ping
By
pong.
herself.
And it's by herself, which is just the best. It's because you'll show her something now, and it's fun how, like, the next day she'll do it, and I think it just shocks me. And so she's been getting whatever is around her, so clothing or blanket or just anything, and she'll pull it up and hide, and then pull it back down, and she just smells so good. And then she claps for herself when she does certain things, and it's just this.
that's fun. Anything else?
We graduated yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of my grandparents came, even my grandfather from New Mexico. And they're all in their 80s now, so it's really hard for them to get in the car and sit for 2 hours to come up here. And they were all so sweet and they were all so happy to see me. And it was just a really sweet time to get to see all of them in one place.
That's cool.
Congratulations, on the converse of that, well, this is good because so my parents are getting divorced, which is super fun. And this graduation was the first time they would need to be in the same place at one singular time. So I've been really pressed working with my counselor to figure out how to navigate them being in the same place and how do I not lose my mind about that and still be okay and enjoying the time. And to my surprise, both behaved well, and the mini dome has 2 sides and they don't touch at all. So I can put one on one and one on the other, and that is what I did. And then I could see one on one side and one on the other side after graduation, and it worked. And I had no true stress about it. It was great. Saw one, saw the other. And it was good. No fighting. And my sister, who last conversation she had made him cry in the salsaritas, so not great relationship. She came and saw him too, so it went a lot better than I thought it would with the whole we hate each other, can't be around each other thing. So it was good, which is I feel really, really good about that. So
Good. Cheers. Graduation, man. Did you get that paper done?
Yeah.
That's a good. Tuck turned in a paper this morning. So
post graduation.
Yeah, they can't take it from me.
It's mine.
I can't fail the class. I don't think it was even counting for my major anyway. So.
Anything else?
I've been really struggling a lot with just anxiety around this pregnancy and birth, which I didn't really have with Walt. Just because the last one was pretty traumatic for us, and I haven't really been open to even praying about it or sorry. I'm pregnant. Or even just opening myself back up because I told Jordan and Abby I had written so many prayers in my journal last birth, and I went back and read them, and going back and reading them really hurt because everything I had prayed for, it just went the opposite. And so I've just been really struggling to even open back up to pray about it or anyways, so I was in the car, I guess it was Thursday, I was going to get the pizza for Thursday night, and I've just been racked with anxiety of irrational fears of dying or something like that. And I remembered what you had talked about a couple weeks ago, just listening, and I thought of a song and it came to my mind and I played it, and it was exactly what I wanted to hear. So I just feel like it's a good thing that I'm slowly trying to open myself back up because it's not something I've been open to. And we met with our doula on Monday. We hired a doula, and she's a believer, and it's just really good because I could talk to her about it, and she just had some encouraging words and some actual fear release practices. And in my mind, while she was talking, I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. Just because even she was just talking about finding scripture, and in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But actually just try to open myself back up to that and realize that's a good thing, and I can do that, and God does care, and so yeah. And it probably doesn't seem like a big deal, but it feels overwhelming to me.
Thanks for sharing that. Anything else? All right, we're continuing on. How to live. Y'all ready? Round 4? Something like that. And I'm giving it to Abby. Abby, come on.
I brought the big Bible, don't be scared. It's actually my security blanket, so that's
My security Bible.
it really, it's a lot tears on this.
Can you play that song?
Yeah, you
Or,
and me
like,
get when
not
you
right
start.
this second.
Just let me
I
know when
want
I'll
to
start.
intro
it
it.
for-
A little heavy.
Yep, I got it.
Andy asked me last night. He said, "Are you nervous?" I was like, "Yes," because it's been a long time since I've taught. I will be red faced. I will be a little like shaky voiced, and then I'll settle in. But if I start talking too long, y'all give me that. Because it has been a long time since I've taught, and anytime you talk to your peers, especially about like Jesus things, you're like, "What if I'm getting it wrong?" And they just look at you like you shared too much and you've got it wrong. So, y'all can tell me after, don't tell me in the middle, but it's always those things. It's just, you know how it is. It's just don't share, don't, whatever. So today's talk is going to be how to be encouraged and how to ask for encouragement. I really almost wanted to title it How to Be Discouraged, because why even be encouraged if you haven't hit the doldrums, before? So encourage means take courage. But we are going to settle for about 20 good minutes in discouragement. So be ready for that. And I typically think of myself as a pretty upbeat person, like 95% of the time. But when I am discouraged, it is full ugly. They will tell you your world. So when I get to that, and I'm talking on this today because encouragement is near and dear to my heart. I love encouraging people. I know that that's a God-given thing. I think it's extremely vital. I think it's overlooked, but it's also one of those things that to be discouraged and come out and be encouraged and then give encouragement. I'm not good at it. Like, I'm not talking about this because I'm good at it. I am talking about it because I feel like I've practiced it a lot, just because I'm a little bit older and I feel like I've fallen in those backs and forths of discouragement and encouragement. But we're going to start in discouragement. If you know Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you know Gina Linetti breaks down Amy Santiago. It's the full, she's all that, and if she's all that we're just going to get dark for a while. If you're not happy with that, I'm not happy there either, and we're going to come out of it. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to start with a song. It's called, if you want to follow along with some lyrics, Beautiful Dark Side. If you don't care for the song, the strings are sick, so you'll enjoy that part, if nothing else. But I'll let Blake go ahead and play that. And then as it plays, I just want you to think of a time. I don't want to put you in the depths of despair. Don't want to Guardians of the Galaxy you, but just get there to where you've been discouraged before. How did it feel? What did it look like? What did it look like to come out of it? So. Like, can anybody identify? Who's coming? One more? Okay, so I'm not one. So that's what discouragement, and at least that was a way that it feels to me when it gets really, really heavy. I've never taught this way before. I'm going to start with kind of a background story of how I even got to this. Is before Blake asked me if I would want to teach, I had this. I wanted to share it with someone. So one, thanks to Blake for even asking, and two, for just Jesus, that he meets us in the dark places and says, hey, I have answers for you. So I'll try not to make this part very long, but we started coming to Mosaic, I think in January or February of last year, which seems crazy. It feels like it's been forever. And at that point in time, we had left the church that we were in. And I definitely would say for the next 6 months, I was in a crisis of faith. It wasn't fun. It was very lonely. And I felt in the crisis of faith that I really had a lack of support. And that wasn't really anyone's fault. It's just circumstantial. And where we live, there's like not a lot of people going, hey, how are you? And they really want to know how you are. I came to find during that 6 months that a lot of people didn't even ask you how you are. When I sat down with my counselor about this, to talk about this, she said, you're not allowed to ask anybody how they are for like 6 weeks. And I was like, oh, no. That's my lead off question. How are you? I want to know about you. She's like, you need to let them ask you. It was very hard. It was a very good exercise. But I was very down. And it was one of those things I was like, man, I feel like I haven't had a real conversation with anybody in a while. Thank goodness for Andy, because he would have those conversations with me. But I was like, I just need a text. I just need one. Just one. It says, hey, just thinking about you. Just want to know how you're doing. And it just wouldn't come. And I was just down and dark. And most days I'd be like, I'm good. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But it got more frequent. The weeks kept going by. And there was nobody from the old church. We were new. So many people in this room have been encouragements to me. But that initial stage is just hard, right? And so I just fell on. And I was ashamed to say that because I don't want to be I don't want to be needy. I want to be super independent. But those feelings of loneliness and sadness, they eventually became feelings of bitterness and envy and ugly. And I could see it on me and I wanted it off. I was like, this isn't me. I don't want to hear about that friend that had a girls' weekend and get mad because she had one and I didn't. I don't want to be the next person to text again, how are you? And not get a reply back. I just was done. And I've been there before with other things and I will be there again. And I love that we're talking about the how to, because I think this, like what we've talked about so far, is so critical. So before we can get to encouraging one another and asking for encouragement back, we have to go to the source. Like if you never hear from another person on the face of the earth, like Jesus is enough. He just is. So we're going to start in Hebrews. Go to Hebrews 10 if you brought or have, pull up Hebrews 10. I will also say I'm not going to like exposit this text on Hebrews. I'm telling you what God had led me to, and that's how this is going to go today. I highly recommend digging through Hebrews on your own or with a buddy, or listening to the Bema series that Marty Solomon does. He does an aerial view of Hebrews, but it's beautiful. And I will bring out this point that he says about the book of Hebrews. We're going to be in Hebrews 10, in Hebrews 3. But he says, remember that Jesus didn't come to do anything new at all. Jesus is a better version of everything that the Hebrews and the Israelites knew. He's coming to make things better. He's coming to put the world right. He's coming to complete this story that we're in, and we can trust the story. But when I am that dark and deep in the muck and mire, I don't want to hear about God finishing the story. I don't want to hear that I'm supposed to believe harder or do more or pray more or read more. I just want that text to come across because I've been asking for it and he's not provided it. So that's kind of where I was. So we're going to go through 3 steps of things we can do to get us out of discouragement. And then on the 3rd step, we're going to talk more about how we can work as a greater mosaic to encourage one another and people outside of mosaic. So the number one thing that I feel like the Lord led me to do was when I'm that way, I've got to just go to Jesus. It's kind of what Corey talked about. Like whatever I have to do to be still, do it. Turn off everything, throw a kid to somebody else, do it. Be still. But I'm going to read Hebrews 10, 19 through 25. And I really encourage you as you listen to this, think back to that discouraging place that you hopefully did while the music was playing. Please don't discount this passage as one you've heard, many of us, since here. And people have told you it's supposed to do all these things to you. Just Lord, give us a fresh heart to see it. So, therefore, brothers, since we have confidence to enter the holy places by the blood of Jesus, by the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is, through his flesh. And since we have a great high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience, and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. Let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. So I go to Jesus and I sit and I'm like, listen, man, I've asked you, I've told you, I'm sad. I'm starting to be mean to the people around me. And he's telling me, in that unraveling of my soul and that discouragement, I start to unravel myself. My identity goes out here. The Christian that God told me that I was, all these things, I'm not believing in anymore. I don't tell people that, but in my heart, in my head, I don't believe them anymore. So I need these reminders. You need these reminders. We have confidence. And you're like, I don't have confidence when I'm like this. But he's reminding you that you do. To enter the holy places, not because of what you've done or how you feel or how many people did text when you were lonely, but by the blood of Jesus, the new and living way that he opened for us through the curtain, that is through the flesh. When you were down in the dark places, you really don't have anything to give. You don't have anything to give back. And if you do try to give it, it's usually pretty ugly. So you have to get the point of going, okay, Jesus, you did this. You paved it. You made me clean. One of my favorite passages is in John 15:4. You're already clean. And every time I read that, I'm like, are you sure that pertains to me? You're already clean. So whatever you have to do to get there, get quiet. Remember that since we have a great priest over the house of God, that we can draw near. And that's the number one step when you're in discouragement. Draw near. And it is usually the hardest one. It's the hardest. It's the first step, and it is the hardest step. And it may take someone looking at you and going, you're going to draw near. It may take your spouse going, I'm putting you in a corner by yourself until you can live again. At least a little bit. At least you know when your heart starts to turn back, that's where you have to get to the bottom. But we've got to get to that point where our identity is shot. where we sometimes have to empty out to end up being self-secure. And just remember, when you get to that place and it's hard, he is sanctifying you to sanctify the greater church. Like he's sanctifying me to help sanctify you guys. Like there is a good reason to go be still. And it's not just for you. Sometimes it's for other people. So draw near means come to him. And if you need to read like Matthew 11, where it says, come to me, all who do the things, get the passages, do them all, ask for help. Draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith. And when you are discouraged, like get to the point that you can be completely honest with God. And that usually is not like an overnight thing. And for me, sometimes it's like a beating my fists against a wall and I finally give in. I'm like, okay, I really am sad. I really can't do this anymore. But as you grow older, I think you realize the things that you do have a tendency to do and a tendency not to do. So if that's you, independent Christian, just remember it's going to take you a little bit longer to be broken down because you've got a wall. I have a wall. So come with a true heart. So lay it all on the table with a full assurance of faith, knowing that he's going to take care of you. With our hearts sprinkled clean, you're already clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. The number 2 thing, verse 23, let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. When God was talking to me about this, he was like, and if you look this up in any Hebrew commentary, you're going to find these 3 steps. I mean, it's not like it's hidden anywhere. But I like in the moment, I was like, God, you're telling me. And I was like, when I looked up other commentaries, I was like, oh, he told everybody else too. But that's actually pretty good. That's like good. Say it out loud. Okay. So draw near, come to him, hold fast. And to me, that means stay with him. Stay with him. Because sometimes I'm like looking around at everybody else, kind of like Blake was talking in the intro, like, and comparing and being like, well, what are they doing? They look pretty happy. How did they do that? Like, they have a whole gaggle of friends. How did they do that? Like, they go to 12 church services and seem fulfilled. I don't understand, but okay. Like, I mean, you know how you do, right? So get with Jesus, stay with him, hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering. Why? For he who promised is faithful. And I gotta be honest, when I'm dark, deep in whatever murky mire I'm in, I don't remember how faithful he is to me. And that's why he says in the Bible a lot, the word remember, because it calls us back. And even if you don't remember your own life, I mean, just the stories of the Bible remind us of his faithfulness. This is the book of faithfulness. And I really appreciated when Emily spoke because, like, this is what we go back to. This is the reason that, like, we're all here. Like, without this, it all kind of falls apart. This is his love story to us. And it goes over and over and over again, telling us how faithful he is. So take time to sit with him, take time to draw near, take time to remember. And just remember that the remembering part can take a while because you need to remember where he's faithful, but that's the key to sometimes seeing, again, he's going to be faithful one more time when you're feeling really down or you're really feeling scared. A lot of times when you're in this draw near and hold fast stage, you still don't feel like God's there. You still feel like you're sitting at prayers and they're hitting the ceiling. When I was there, I didn't like have this lesson with God and then all these people start texting to check on me. Like, that's not what happened. But when you don't feel it, that's when you go back to the directions, trust, draw near, hold fast, sit in remembrance. And when your heart starts to settle in that truth, though you might fight yourself, depending on how down you are, that's when God's going to start transforming your heart. And as God does that and reminds you of who you are and who he is, that's when you can bring other people into the conversation. And that's why we're going to talk about number 3. We're just going to tie in verses 24, 25, and we're going to flip over to Hebrews 13, 3:13. So I'm going to read those to us again really quick. And let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. When I was really down this particular day that he gave this to me, I remember thinking, like, why am I so frustrated? Like, why do I have a beef with everybody around me? Because I've not gotten checked on, if I'm being honest. And I went to God and I was like, is there not some truth in the feeling like I want to be checked on? I want to be asked about. I want to be like, I want somebody to sit across the table from me and be like, how are things? Not just like, how are you? But like, are you sad? How is your job? What is your family life like? Like, have you and Andy had a fight lately? There's a Halsey song that my favorite line is, She asked me if there was any extra weight I carry. Like, that's a good question. Like, sit across the table from somebody this week and be like, is there any extra weight you carry? And it's not like I want to sit and have this horrible conversation about all the hard things, because life is not always hard all of the time. But sometimes nobody asks about that part because they don't want to hear your mess either. They got their own crap. They want to hear about the good stuff. But if we're really going to be people that are showing Christ to other people, we're going to have those conversations. And you know how you feel after you kind of pour it all out and you do ugly cry? That's good. We need to do that for one another. So when I was asking God this, I was like, what is the deal? And, I don't even like to go to that verse, the 2 verses, let us consider how to stir one up, not neglecting to meet together. Because how many of y'all, someone has told you, well, you neglected to meet together and you're going to hell. I'm so tired of like people throwing that in my face of like, we've got to gather together 25 times a week. Anyway, that's a whole nother soapbox. We'll cover that today. Anyway, it is important to meet together. But anyway, that really is a soapbox. Okay. Sorry, rabbit trail. So I've completely lost my train of thought now. So, when God showed me this, it was like, don't neglect to meet together, but encourage one another. Like, you need that. It's not just to meet together to be in a room together. It is to encourage one another. I told my mother-in-law about us naming the good the other day, and she was like, y'all do that? That is so cool. And I was like, yes, it's cool. Like, I can't tell you how much life naming the good gives to me, because I hear your stories, and I know that sometimes you're naming the bad and it's naming the good. Like, it's just beautiful. It is mosaic. But it should be the people of God. Like, we should be able to do that anyway. So we are to encourage one another, all the more as the day is drawing near. But that took me, I looked up the word encourage, and basically it means to call to one side, to instruct sometimes, to admonish sometimes, to entreat sometimes, to receive consolation, to strengthen, to teach. So it can mean a lot of different things, but calling somebody to your side, that's a big deal. Have you ever stood alone for something? Or anywhere really, it feels lonely, like it feels crummy. And then somebody comes and stands beside you and you're like, cool. Don't, they're just beside me, but they're with me. The same word is used in Hebrews 3:13. This is where the rubber hit the road for me. But exhort, which is the same word as encourage, is in verse 25. One another every day. Every day. Okay. As long as it is called today, then none of you may be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. Now, I couldn't take my story so far as to be like, well, nobody checked on me in my crisis of faith and sadness, so that's why I'm being sinful and catty and all of the words. But it did prick a place in my heart to be like, no, Abby, I did call you guys to encourage one another. You are okay to ask for help, because that's how he made us. He didn't make us like one body, just one body. He made us one body of all these different parts. And all the fruits, all the spiritual gifts, that's why we're made differently. And it wasn't like I wanted to shout from the rooftop, see, you guys are supposed to be exhorting me and encouraging me. But it reminded me, I'm a part of the puzzle piece. And if I'm not getting that encouragement, I might have to lay down my pride and ask for it. Because I knew that my friends that kind of were in their own messes, they just didn't know that I needed help. And from that time on, like I said, it wasn't like this wave of people marched through my door to check on me. But I had a friend call me one day and she asked me, she was like, where is our relationship? Where is our friendship? I know that sounds weird. And I was like, no, thank you. Because that's a very honest question. And we got to talk about where we were. I had another friend, she just called me. She's like, listen, I'm sorry, I've been a bad friend. And I want to be like, yeah, you have been. But I didn't, because I've been a bad friend in my own way. And she was like, I'm hurting my own stuff. You're hurting your own stuff, but we can be hurt together. And there was a lot of crying, but it was good. And I was honest. And so I wasn't holding that aside for it to become sinful. She encouraged me, and that sinfulness came out of me. So there's a purpose. There is a purpose for why we need to consider to others. And I want to talk about that a little bit more as we kind of move into how to encourage phase and how to ask for encouragement. So if you're looking just at verses 24 and 25 in chapter 10 and that 3:13, I'm going to break it down into how it seemed most practical to me. But don't neglect meeting together. And that's not the beat you ever had with a hammer, Bible, you've got to be at church every Sunday. Sometimes you're a better Christian when you take that more of a rest. But there is a reason to meet together. There's a reason to lay eyes on someone else and be like, hey, are you okay? we also need to pay attention to people that aren't with us. And when we talk about encouragement, I definitely mean us, right? Like encouraging your family. This is our extended family. Encourage out here too, because that's how you draw people to Christ, and that's what God's asked us to do. But we don't need to neglect meeting together. And not only just this, but like, who is it that you check on a regular basis or checks on you that you haven't had coffee with in a while? What's the barrier there? How do you get past that? Do you just text them and say, hey, I just have time for a phone call this week, but can I call you on my way home from wherever? What can you do to not neglect them? The word for neglect there is actually abandoning. And it means like you've left them to survive on their own. And like, just because I know what we're already doing here, like we're not that kind of people. And so I think if we ever get there, somebody needs to exhort us and be like, go back to naming the good, go back to checking on one another. Because the way we take care of ourselves in this, in the encouragement of our own souls and the encouragement around this table, is going to translate to the encouragement of the people that we're with every day at work and at home. And I was going to say on the subway, we don't have public transportation here, but if we were in Baker City, it would have worked. Don't neglect to meet together. Encourage one another and exhort one another every day. I'm going to give an example here of what it looks like to encourage one another, especially somebody that's like you haven't seen in a while or isn't where you are in Christendom. But it's not a Christian example, it's a running example. So when we moved back here in 2011, I fancied myself a runner, but I was more the like, I'll run downhill and walk uphill and call myself a runner. I didn't really run very often, but I had a good friend that I connected with, and she was a Christian, and she just was trying to be kind. So she was like, hey, come to running group with me on Thursday night. And I was like, that sounds fun. How far? 5 miles. I was like, I can't do that. And she was like, it's okay, just come. And I was like, I can't do that. I will hold you back. She was like, it's okay, just come. So I go and I start running. And it is and I memorized this just for y'all. Picture the Michael Scott, Dunder Mifflin Scranton, Meredith Palmer Memorial, celebrity, rabies awareness, pro-life, run for the race, run race for the cure. That's what I looked like. It was awful. And I got about a half a mile in, I got a side stitch. And they run on. I can't remember how many girls there were. Well, a little bit later, Jama comes back for me. And I'm like, it's like the walk of shame. Like, please don't come near me. Don't talk to me. Just go run with your pretty little friends that can run. And she was like, it's okay. And she's like, I'm just going to walk with you. And I was like, but I'm keeping you from your run. It's okay. I'm just going to walk with you. And you're going to come back next week and you're going to run again. I was like, I'm not coming back next week. And she was like, you're going to do it. So I did. I felt embarrassed. I felt bad for having her give up her run to walk with me. But I went every week. And she walked with me when I needed. And little by little, I got stronger. I got faster. I could talk instead of almost throwing up when I ran. And we crossed I was like looking down wherever I kept like my phone. I was like, I'm getting close to 4 miles. I'm done. I'm not going to talk about it. But we passed the 4 mile mark. And I was like, I was like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to finish. I'm going to do 5 miles without stopping. And I did. But I remember that about Jama. I'll remember it forever because she was fine. She was encouraged. She was good. Her muscles were strong, but I wasn't. And she came back for me. And she forsook what she had because she knew she was going to go back to it. She knew she could go run more, and she knew I was going to catch up to her. But I needed somebody to come back for me, and I needed that encouragement. And that was pivotal in my life because it was for running, but I mean, in a spiritual sense, that's what we have to do for one another. We have to be the type of fellowship that goes back for people. Because I'm going to have another crisis of faith sometime. You are too. And we're not going to be scared of that. We're going to encourage one another through it. We're going to remind each other of who we are so that we are stronger as a body of believers and so that the rest of the world sees that. And then once you kind of get there, once you kind of see the clouds lift and you are starting to be encouraged by the people around you again, and you're doing okay, do what verse 24 says. Let us consider how to stir one another up to love and good works. When I'm in a hard place, it is honestly hard for me to look up and see a lot of people and where they are. I try to, but it's not easy. When you're in a good place, really look around the table. Like, see where somebody looks sad. See where there's an empty chair. Consider how to stir one another up to love and good works. That's why we're here, love and good works. What does that look like? Now, for me, I really do appreciate a text that says, hey, how are you doing? For somebody else, that might not be it at all. And the more we get to know each other, we might even say the phrase, what does it look like for you to be encouraged? I mean, or if you're like not asking for encouragement and you're in a dark place, what does that look like? Would you be willing to tell me so that I can kind of look out for it? Like, we do that in our marriage. Like, if Andy's having a bad day, I'm not going to just let it go because I don't want him to go down that path, right? He's definitely not going to let it go with me because I'm going to come out like a bear in about 12 days and nobody's going to want to be around me. But we can't let that stuff go. Do you know what I mean? And that's not to put pressure on us as bodies of believers, but this is a gift that we have. And we have I have received more encouragement than I will ever give. But take time to consider how you can stir somebody else up to love and to good works. I'm just going to read this part because if I don't, I'll rabbit trail. This is just what I wrote when I finished writing this lesson. I needed encouragement. I was thinking back to my discouraging days. I needed accountability, someone checking on me, but I was too ashamed to ask for it. I didn't want to appear needy, but that produced sin. Bitterness, comparison, self-loathing, envy. Somewhere, my perfectly okay sadness begat sin. We have to break the cycle of that, and all of that involves. So when you've sat with God, you're holding fast to him, then ask for help. Then we'll see the perfectly biblically ordained way of God to ask for help and get encouragement for other people. And this is one thing that I feel like God gave me. Encouraging others is preventative maintenance for sin. When you encourage someone else, it's going to lift that fruit of the Spirit up in your heart. When you give encouragement, it's going to prevent that person from being hardened by sin. That's why I think that's why it's here. I think that's why it's in the Bible. And I made a visual aid. It's on visual. And I think God gave me a visual aid to plane a few weeks ago. This is it. And I'm going to say we always follow this perfectly. Oh, let's see. Okay. Discouragement. It can look a lot of different ways. Sometimes for me, I was hardened by sin. Sometimes it's self-doubt. You know what your discouragement looks like. When you get that way, reorient to truth. And honestly, I think if you just even stay here, like, you're going to make it, because truth is what truth sets you free. But God's ordained it for us to ask for help. Try to get here. Try to get to the point where you're like, hey, I need you to have coffee with me. I need to spill some things. Also, be looking for those who may not be able to ask for help. And that's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us. Consider how to give help, how to encourage. So again, when you're in an okay place, think about your neighbor. How can you give them help? Allow exhortation. Oh, that's my hardest one. I don't allow anybody to exhort me. Allow it. Have people encourage you. And sometimes that encouragement is like, hey, you look nice today. Sometimes that encouragement is like, you're being a good parent. Sometimes that encouragement is you're being a good follower of Christ. It can go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I encourage you not just to keep it superficial. Like, encourage people deeply. We need it because our roots run deep and we need somebody down there where we actually take in water. So try to go deep on that if you can. And this isn't easy. Like, I don't think encouragement comes easy to everybody. And when it doesn't come easy to you, pray about it. Like, we're going to spend some time in the next few minutes just praying, just being quiet and saying, God, who do I need encouraging? Who do I need to encourage? Ask him throughout the week. Bring somebody in my path that I can encourage. What does that look like? Or am I at the place that I need to ask somebody for encouragement and have the boldness and courage to do that? I'll finish with this. Why? Like, who the heck cares? The end of that passage, verse 25, is encourage one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. I'm not going to read John 17 to you, but I want you to say, everybody together, I will read John 17 this week. Read it. I love John 17 because it reorients me to how important unity is to Jesus, and that the world is watching us. And that's not like, oh my gosh, the world's watching us. It's a pressure-filled situation. It is not a pressure-filled situation. They are watching us. Don't you want them to have this? Everybody should be at this table. It's the best table in town. It's an honest table. It's a happy table. It's a sad table. It's a good place to be. And the harder this world gets and the harder life gets, I want to show people that we are encouraging, not for superficial reasons, not to be liked, not to be accepted, but because Jesus loves them. And we can give the encouragement that he's given us. And that's why we do it. Was that the last thing I was going to do? No, that wasn't the last thing I was going to do. I have to read from the Mr. Rogers book. If you struggle with encouraging people, I thought this was really cool. It actually, the author took it from A Wind in the Door, which is from the same author of A Wrinkle in Time. And so there's a lot of like words I'm not going to be able to pronounce, but I think you'll get the meaning. So if you don't know how to encourage one another, here's a thought. The challenge of this comes through cherubim, represented a single character named, I'm going to call him Progos, because that's what she calls him. Sent to enlist Meg, the main character in this book, A Wind in the Door, in the cosmic battle between good and evil. So we get cosmic battle, somebody's being sent to, okay. Meg's task, her challenge, Progo tells her, is to be a namer. When Meg asks the angel what it means, he fumes. I told you, a namer has to know who people are and who they were meant to be. As in any war, the enemy has the opposite goal. In this case, the enemies were Ekroi. If anybody's read this book, I'm butchering it, so I'm so sorry. Evil forces and fallen angels whose chief weapon is unnaming, making people not know who they are. When people don't know who they are, Progo explains, they are opening to being annihilated by hate or named, or as Fred Rogers' beloved Dr. Orr would say, they become either accusers or advocates. If someone knows who he really is, really knows, the cherubim explains, then he doesn't need to hate. Fred would agree. Feeling as good as possible about God's creation within us, he believed, causes us to look upon our neighbor with the same sense of wonder and worth. Then, once we are able to see the image of God in our neighbors, once we recognize their inherent value, we strive to help them become who they were meant to be. We name them. Or as Rebbe Notman encouraged, we help them return to God. Fred summed it up this way: to be able to be accepted for who we are and to be able to grow from there is one of the greatest treasures of life. So if you don't know how to encourage someone, name them. And I'll be honest with you, I worked in multiple nursing homes when I lived in Seattle, and I was just the dietitian. Like, nobody knew my name. Half the time they didn't know what I did, but I was in a different facility all the time. And one day I was walking through a nurse's station, and someone said, "Hey, Abby." And I was like, they know my name. And I know that's silly, but like, they knew me. I was a part of them all of a sudden. I wasn't just that person that comes in on a Tuesday. So maybe it's as simple as like learning someone's name and using it. Maybe it's saying like, "Hey, Taylor, like I saw what you did today, and that was brave. To say what you said was brave. So you are brave." And if someone told me that, I'd probably burst out crying. So if someone does that, like, everybody calm down. But it's powerful. It's moving. And sometimes you just need that little confidence boost, because we do have the confidence to go to Jesus, but Jesus sometimes seems far away. So be that like bridge for somebody. Really appreciate you all listening. I hope that wasn't too discombobulated. And I do want us to spend a little bit of moment in prayer. So everybody just get to where is a comfy spot for you in your head. Close your eyes if you want to, but I'm just going to give us like a couple minutes of silence. And in those minutes of silence, I want you to think about someone you could encourage this week. What does it look like to encourage them? Maybe you just ask God for a name, but be quiet, be still, and pray about it. God, thank you for the fact that we encourage others because you first encouraged us, and you encourage us every day. So we ask you to like lavish encouragement on us this week. And as you do that, that you bring people to our lives and our paths that we can encourage, and that we be bold enough to do so. Lord, if we need encouragement, I pray that we ask. And I just pray that be a reciprocal cycle that just happens over and over and over again for your glory, not just for our good, because we know it's for our good, but for your ultimate glory. And I just really thank you for this space. I really thank you for the safety here. I really thank you for each and every one of these people, and I just pray that you bless them as they go about their week. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks. It's gonna be an awkward exit, isn't it, with all my stuff? I'm so sorry.
Better get a workout in with that
I
Bible.
know, right? It's a 5-pound Bible.
All right, everybody. Couple things before we end. First things first. Today is Olivia and Paige's last day with us. They're moving on, so they're no longer with us. The doctors did everything they could. And, I'm just kidding. There's donuts back there to celebrate, so give them love and money and I don't know. But we love you two dearly, so celebrate you guys. Is that my computer? Yeah, my computer's about to take off. Another thing, Tuesday night, we're going to do the fire thing I've been talking about that I haven't named officially, but this is what we're going to do. I'm just explaining it. Tuesday night, we're going to fire at my place, 7 o'clock or something. That's when we get to my place. Clear. Our place. We're going to do a fire. Just eat dinner before, bring food with you if you want, bring something to drink or whatever you want with you. But the whole purpose is to share something that's been inspiring to you or something you've been listening to or reading or whatever. And if you don't want to bring something, that's cool, and just show up and listen. I'm just super interested in what's been inspiring people. And it's a lot of the same stuff. It's like what's been speaking to you, and I think that's helpful because we can hear from each other. And I mean this, it can be absolutely anything. If you came to the first one we did, it was a big spectrum of things. It was from spiritual to non-spiritual, and it was awesome. Like everything spiritual, but you guys know what I mean. So bring it. I don't care what it is. I'm just excited to sit back and enjoy the time together. So no kids, so we can just kind of sit together and talk. That sound cool? No pressure to come at all, but it's happening Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. I assume we'll do Thursday dinner of sorts. We may do something different this Thursday. Yeah. Or not. We'll figure something out. But Tuesday is definitely happening. So I'm excited about that. Third or fourth, you guys could help me clean this place up after. We got a complaint note that we've not been cleaning up as well as we probably could be. So just help me clean. So no trash. We'll take the trash out and all that stuff. And we'll just make sure everything's put back orderly. So anything else we need to say? Shiloh's got something to say. We got more how-tos coming up. Emily's next week for Mother's Day. So cheers. A couple weeks we're going to do how to be like Ted Lasso because I'm like utterly inspired by Ted. I'm just kidding. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not kidding. I don't know. I'm completely inspired by Ted. So anything else anybody wants to say? Once, going twice. Cheers.